So we got something working quite well with our with the fluid sim there. So let's go ahead and bring in the rest of the strawberries. So I'll bypass this blast node. Let me just take another look at the sim. So I think the grouping is they're quite far apart there. So I'd like them to be a bit closer together, a bit tighter. So I'm going to come here into the attribute randomize. Let me just name these V, and this was orient, yeah. Orient. So in the velocity, I'm going to change these so to a 0.2, yeah. So from 0.2 to minus 0.2, just to kind of tighten them up a bit. Yeah, we'll delete that so we get all the strawberries together. Another thing I want to do quickly is just to see the voxels are quite coarse there. So I'm just going to drop that down to 0.2, should be good enough for us. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, it's only for collision. Obviously, we're not going to be rendering this. We'll be rendering the polygonal geometry with the rest of the strawberry as well. Okay, I'll put the viewport on that. Also in the solver, in the flip solver, something we haven't talked about is in here in the volume motion, in the flip solver, we come to this collision tab, we have this thing called velocity scale. Okay, so if I go back actually all the way to here to the collider. So remember, this is linked to the outputs of the RBD simulation, and on this geometry we do have velocity already. Okay, we've got a velocity attribute and an angular velocity, so this is like the spin of the strawberries, and this is the kind of change in location where it is, and we can use that velocity to affect the collision. So the more velocity it has, the more of a splash we'll get. Okay, and this can be kind of artificially, if you like, increased or decreased by changing this value. We just kind of multiply it. Okay, so I'm going to put this up to 12, see what that gets us. So let's try a flipbook with this. I'm going to put this to frame 60. There we go, and just bring it into about there. And run a flipbook with that, 62. I'm going to go a bit higher. I don't know, I probably won't do the whole thing. I'll just do 120 probably. And let's take a look at how that comes out. So we got that flipbook all done here. And the initial collision is kind of okay. We got all the strawberries colliding, and we get a splash from all of them. But then if you notice here, after a while, we get this weird, can you see where the particles are white? So there the velocity is very high. And you're just getting this kind of weird explosion and bubbling going on there, you see? So the strawberry's not really moving, but they're still imparting all this velocity, and it's kind of exploding, and it's not what we're looking for, right? So what I'm going to do is just basically, once the strawberries pass through the surface, just delete them, right? So, you know, once they're through the surface and underneath all the splashes, you're not going to see them anyway. So we just delete them wholesale, and there's no, you know, we remove the possibility of that problem there. Okay, so an easy way to do that, I'll go back to the first frame. I'm going to jump into my collider here. So these objects are packed, right? So they're basically, if we take a look at the wireframe, you can see it's just 1 point, right? If you look at we got 12 points there, right? So each one is a packed object with a point. So if I delete that 1 point, I delete the whole thing, right? So for example here, if I take a look at the points there, this one is 10. I could just put a delete here, and in the group, if I type 10, then yeah, we'll delete that one. Okay, in points also. So I'm going to do this not by typing in the number, but what we can do is use this bounding bounding box. Okay, so anything, whenever they pass inside this box, they are deleted, right? If I show you, see that? As soon as they pass inside, they are deleted, and that will work with the animation also. All right, so if I play this forward, as soon as they go through, they disappear. So let's put the smooth shaded back on, turn off these visualizers. Okay, in X and Y we can just make them as big as we want, just to make sure that it's caught. Okay, and then for the Y we need it correct, so they're deleted at the correct moment. So just as they pass into the ground. So let's see if I do, if I raise it up a little bit there. Okay, so just as they pass through, they disappear. Let's just double check that. I put them so they're all on the ground there, and then just raise this up so they get deleted. Okay, let's just watch that all the way through, just make sure they don't pop back out again, because I might give us some weird results. There we are, perfect. Well, another thing I'll do is to help us with that kind of the splashing, is I'm going to jump into my flip object, yeah, and to the viscosity, raise that up to 0.75, so make it a bit more viscous, and also the surface tension, push that up to 1, and that should help out a lot with calming the simulation.